Welcome to emergent-seed's first virtual event. My name is Adriana Smith. I'm a writer and the founder of emergent-seed, which seeks to support greater DC metro area writers and composers for their original work. Tonight, for the first time, you'll hear the full performances of our 10 first-round microgrant winners, a diverse range of songs, poetry, stories, and instrumental pieces. All of the artists you'll hear from live in DC or one of the 6 surrounding counties in Maryland and Virginia. One thing COVID has shown us is just how important our local resources are. So in a similar way, emergent-seed wants to acknowledge and nurture our creative local resources. The 10 performers you'll hear from tonight were each winners in our first round of $500 microgrants. In addition to this $500, emergent-seed paired each winner with a highly skilled mentor in their field, helped workshop their piece, and offered them the opportunity to re-record their performances in a professional music studio. Here's an example of one of the winner's original video submissions and his re-recorded video. Tonight's premiere shows the fruits of those efforts. Our mission is creatives helping creatives, which we continue to fulfill tonight because the money that we raise not only goes to fund our future rounds of microgrant applications, but a percentage of the net proceeds raised will also go back to the artist you see performing tonight. Our goal at emergent-seed is to continue supporting amazing emerging artists in the greater DC metro area. Make sure to check out the donate page on our website at www.emergent-seed.org to learn more about how to support our work. Thank you.
So my name is Langston Hughes II. I'm a saxophonist based in the DC area, but also a student at Howard University.
Langston Hughes is a 19-year-old saxophonist born and raised in Prince George's County. Langston served as the music director for Fame's jazz ensemble. He wrote this piece, Where From Here, upon choosing to study music at Howard University. Josh Cleveland is a pianist, educator, and the new music director for La Ti Do. The theater community is his home, especially now that he's composing original musical theater songs, including this one, Maple Trees. We had 2 DC area vocalists accompany him, so you'll see 2 halves of this same song, sung by each in a slightly different key.
There's a dream that I've been dreaming for a while. It's not too complicated, but it always makes me smile. There's a trail that's made for walking, lined with sun-kissed maple trees, whose leaves cast dappled shadows in a gentle autumn breeze. You and I get lost in thoughts in our lofty reveries. We walk for miles without a care till our hearts find open seas. And as we talk, we carve new stitches into time and space with ease, just like lovers carve initials onto sun-kissed maple trees. There's a song that I've been writing. It's a tune that's unconstrained, with a syncopated beat and a Gershwin-esque refrain. It'll make you snap your fingers, tap your toes on to and fro, 'cause God knows I'm all out of elegies. It's you who showed me more. In our lofty reveries, we'll walk for miles without a care till our hearts find open seas. And as we talk, we carve new stitches into time and space with ease, just like lovers carve initials onto sun-kissed maple trees.
There's a dream that's barely breathing, like a crescent on the wane. I soared into a cloudless sky, yet still I found the rain. So for now I walk alone, put my dancing shoes away, and I'll wait here on this leaf-strewn path for someone else someday. And he and I'll get lost in thought in our lofty reveries. We'll walk for miles without a care till our hearts find open seas. And as we talk, we'll carve new stitches into time and space with ease, just like lovers carve initials onto sun-kissed maple trees. Just like lovers carve initials onto sun-kissed maple trees.
My name is Yasmeen El-Hasan.
Yasmeen El-Hasan, a Georgetown University graduate student, honors her maternal lineage here in this piece, An Ode to My Mother. Things come full circle for Yasmeen as she recalls sitting in her mother's Palestinian elementary school, where Yasmeen returned last summer.
An Ode to My Mother. The windows of my mother's old elementary school are lined with bars. It is a 3-minute walk up the road from her childhood home. A short distance, but at a steep incline, so that when I walk there, I find my breathing slightly uneven. The gate to the school is solid and heavy, but more striking, it is a faded pink, as if to distract from the fact that every time I open it, I have to put all of my weight behind me, and my breath becomes even more uneven. I go up the stairs past this gate, and I open up the pink doors to the classrooms with the pink walls, and I open the windows. I did not think about how these windows were lined with bars until I was much older. It was simply another reality of my summers back home in Palestine. Just like how I knew that I should not shower daily because water was limited, and how I knew that I should not be alarmed if the lights and power cut out at a certain hour because there's something called an electrical grid, and we don't control ours. And how the rumblings that kept me up some nights were not thunder, but rather the noisy trucks of soldiers that I listened to with my back against the wall, crouched under a window, lying to myself that the bars were protection. But during the school years, I was across an ocean so wide that it swallowed these memories and turned them into sprinklers to play in that seemed to never end. And a nightlight as bright as the stars we stared at when the lights went out. And there were no soldiers from whom to hide behind windows lined with bars. And Mama did not have to be my shield, but she did it anyway. When I open the windows, I sit down. The seat in which I sit is meant for an elementary school-aged child, and it is uncomfortable, but I do not get up. I just sit and look at the windows lined with bars as I think about how my mother sat in this same pink seat, in this same pink classroom with the pink doors and the pink walls, staring at the metal caging, daydreaming about the bars that are thin and crisscrossed to look decorative rather than functional, and I wonder if they ever offered her the same facade of protection that I always tried to feel but only she could fulfill. Whenever I return, they tell me that I look just like my mother. Nisreen al-Sghiri, or the little Nisreen, they call me. The current principal of this elementary school is 2 grades below my mother, or was, and she tells me that my mother was always smiling. No one else smiled as much as Nisreen did, she tells me, as though it is an enigma that still confuses her. Even here, Nisreen would smile. I never understood how Nisreen was always smiling, she tells me. And you smile just like her. My mother does not smile the same when she is away from home. My mother and I, we argue a lot. And when we argue, there are no smiles. And when we argue, I forget about this classroom with the pink doors and the pink walls and the pink seats in which I sit and the windows lined with bars. And there are no smiles. My father tells me that it is because we are so similar. And I pretend to be offended. Nisreen al-Sghiri. She is feisty just like her mother, they say. At this, I smile. My mother and I argue a lot. but I know that she is afraid of losing me like she is afraid of losing her home. And I know that she grasps onto me as tight as she once held on to the bars on these windows in this pink classroom with the pink doors and the pink walls in which I sit, and that this is the same strength with which she wishes she could hold on to the roots of the olive trees by her childhood home that is just 3 minutes down the road, and she has so much to lose, but she is so afraid of losing me. My mother sacrificed so much for this dichotomous life that she has gifted me. In the afternoon, I close the windows. I say goodbye to the pink walls and shut the pink doors and lock the pink gates and walk down the road for 3 minutes to reach our house. It is a short journey, and yet I can't bring myself to pay attention to anything but the ground upon which my mother walked. And this short journey becomes the longest part of my day as I think of her smile and I retrace her steps. And the tears, my tears, join the tears of my mother that have spilled here before. This ground is fertile of rusted blood. When I get home, my mother will scold me, and I will smile.
I'm Juliette Bell. This is Madeline, and this is Lainey. We are 1, 2, 3. Wicked Sycamore!
Juliette Bell and her all-female acoustic trio Wicked Sycamore won the 2019 Charm City Bluegrass Band Competition. Her song, Toe Beans, the name for the underside of a cat's paw, was inspired by watching her cats playing on her front porch during the early days of quarantine.
Hi, my name is Mecca Russell, and I go by Neffy as my artist name.
Neffy is a singer-songwriter who has performed across New York City and Washington, D.C. That was a video clip from her original video submission, and here now is her song, Hanging On Too Long, recorded in a professional music studio about the loss of a close friendship.
Gone and move the mountains since you're so strong. Gone and patronize me since I'm so wrong. And under your worst spell, you become one with the thunder, but somehow you move the clouds apart, and it's me who stays longer, but in the heat of the fire, I get lost in the flames. Who am I to blame? It's far too wrong. I hang on too long. Everything but a dream. I'm bursting at the seams. It's far too wrong that I hang on too long. Go on and run the river every inch and every mile. Go on and scold me since I'm so juvenile. And under your spell you become one with the thunder, but somehow you move the clouds apart, and this me who grows fonder. But in the heat of the fire, I get lost in the flames. Who am I to blame? It's far too wrong. I hang on too long. Everything but a dream. I'm bursting at the seams. It's far too wrong that I hang on too long. Oh, you won't find me sitting by our cherry tree waiting for us, baby. He's a stranger, a someday stranger soon. He's a stranger, now I'm a stranger too.
We asked each of our winners to talk about what it means to be a practicing artist in the greater DC metro area.
Well, I think my favorite thing about being an artist in DC is the city is big enough that the opportunity is there, but it's also small enough to where the musician community can still be a family, still know everybody here.
It's a great town for collaboration, actually, because you get people from all different parts of the country. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and so I've kind of found the theater community that's kind of the place that I have found to be home here. You know, it's a very serious town. It takes itself very seriously. People are really looking for creative outlets.
I'm primarily a student, and then I work as well. And writing is, whenever I have time, that's what I do, or what I wish I could do if I had the extra time. But DC is a really great place to be a writer, to be any type of creative, honestly. You don't even have to seek out the creative spaces, you kind of just stumble upon them.
I'm so lucky. I have access to seeing an endless number of shows that may not be happening at this moment in time, but in the normal age, I could see a show every night if I chose to, and I could be inspired every night. I also have access to an amazing just catalog of artists, like these people who I've met and artists who I just meet again at shows and at shows that I play and at shows that I attend. And I just feel lucky that I'm an hour away from a mountain and an hour from any show like that I choose to go to.
I grew up in this area, so some of my friends are from here and my family. We've settled our roots here, so it just feels like home, and that always catalyzes great songwriting for me.
During this period of COVID, some winners decided not to come into the studio to re-record their performance. Therefore, the videos used as I introduce these winners come from their interviews. You'll be able to hear these extended interviews and more when we spotlight each artist in 2021.
My name is B. Steadwell. I am a singer-songwriter.
B. Steadwell is an accomplished musician, filmmaker, storyteller, and musical theater creator. In 2018, B won the Whammy's DC Award for Best Pop Album. She wrote this original new song, Miles Away, during the early days of the quarantine.
Missing you, but I feel better. Sitting down to read your letter. Spring is dark and cool today. Earth is green and sky is gray. Find my peace in melody, little sweet and a little sad like me. Dream of home and roots and love, the kind of dream that you forget when you wake up. Dream of my love in Windsor, who walks along the river. Love in Chicago, picks violets down a quiet road. My love in Oakland sits at the lake to meditate. 1,000 miles away, 1,000 miles away. I want a woman just like my coffee, a little sweet and really strong like me. I want a family just like an army. They go to war to love and govern me, just like my love in Windsor, who walks along the river. Love in Chicago, picks violets down a quiet road. My love in Oakland sits at the lake to meditate. 1,000 miles away, 1,000 miles away. Love in New Orleans is outside reading poems. Love in Virginia is singing to the ocean. My love in DC is playing with the baby. My love in DC is in the yard and sipping tea.
My name is Dylan Arredondo.
Dylan Arredondo is a storyteller and theater maker active in DC's theater community. In this performance, Dylan takes us on an exploration of his relationship to his father and their Japanese-Mexican heritage, uncovered through the dessert, mochi.
So you may or may not be aware of this, but they are beginning to put little mochi freezer buffets in Whole Foods across America. Now, I generally cannot afford to shop at Whole Foods, but I hear that this is something that they're doing. And during a treat yourself weekend a couple months back, I go and I visit one of these in person. And I was filled with a deep nostalgia. I knew that this wasn't the real thing, that this was some Americanized commercial attempt at mochi. But still, it was in this moment that I realized, and it really struck me, that I associate mochi with home. And for me, home is not a place. Home is a group of people. To connect the dots, first I need to introduce you to my dad, Mark. Now, as far as dads go, he's a great guy. He has a comparatively cheery demeanor, easy to build rapport with, expert salesman, someone who really lives for the present moment, but, and I say this with love, someone who generally has a smidge of historical obliviousness. And despite being the mixed-race son of Japanese and Mexican immigrants, I conceive of him as the whitest person I know. A man of extremely white pronunciations despite his physical appearance. We're talking tortilla status here, let alone his last name, Arredondo. And that was his relationship to his culture. I had no idea why he was the way he was, and as someone who truly wanted to proudly experience and immerse myself in and take ownership of the culture that ran through my veins, I began to attach a lot of shame to my dad. But back to mochi. Mochi is all about texture. It's smooth, sticky, elastic, chewy. To achieve this, one must conduct the mochi pounding. So think about how taffy has those rotating bars that stretch it. Mochi is pounded. And when I think about why my dad is the way he is, I often revisit this image of pounding as an image of assimilation. His father was constantly trying to erase his Mexicanness when trying to fit in amongst the Japanese family. His mother was trying to erase her Japaneseness when trying to fit in amongst the Mexican family. Both were just trying their hardest to not be outsiders. And if that meant, hey, pounding out a little piece of who you intrinsically were in order to avoid being alienated for marrying someone who was outside the community, maybe it was a price worth paying. My dad was never taught Spanish or Japanese because it was believed that immersing him in English would make him a more successful American later in life. And it becomes clear that my father's ignorance may have been a byproduct of my grandparents, my great-grandparents' conscientiousness. But the story begins when my dad gets a call from a distant cousin saying, hey, we're getting the band back together. Mochi Day. It's happening at the farm. Jump cut to 48 hours later. Now, Mochi Day in 4 images. 1. Walking to a house at the end of a road of a citrus orchard, a few acres of the orchard that apparently my family had picked for almost 100 years. 2, handmade, homemade sushi and onigiri alongside the Arizona cuisine staples of enchiladas and beer. Food on every kitchen surface. No one would be leaving with an empty stomach, that was clear. 3, the aunties all gathered on the couch, my grandma Ayoko sitting amidst them, laughing among themselves. And 4, tables powdered with flour as far as the eye could see, with every able-bodied child and adult pounding mochi. Now, I had met the aunties before offhand at weddings and funerals, but never gathered all at once. And when I had met them before, they had always been mostly silent, and rarely, if ever, smiled. And I don't just mean silence in conversation, I also mean silent regarding their histories. But for some reason here, surrounded by culture for the first time in years, decades even, they finally gave themselves permission to open up. They call over my dad. Hey, child, we got a story to tell you. It's the story of Tomi, your Oba-chan. You'll have to tune in next episode for the epic oral history that then ensued, but I'll give you the cliff notes, aka why Tomi Nakatsu, my great-grandmother, was a total badass. 1, she came to the States as a picture bride. 2, she survived Japanese internment. 3, she was a single female Japanese business owner only 7 years after the end of World War II. She got shit done. So I'm in the corner riding the roller coaster of this, overhearing it, and I'd like to say that I looked at my dad for the first time in my life and saw him cry a single tear that ran down his cheek. But that wasn't the case. He nodded, he took it all in, he thanked the aunties, but from that moment on, I saw a shift in my dad, this kind of big picture shift, a big picture choice to buy into his culture. And then we made mochi together, with all the aunties teaching us how, pounding the mochi. But instead of desperately trying to rid ourselves of our Japaneseness, now we were desperately trying to relearn, remember, reclaim our ness. Instead of allowing yourself to be the cultural product of your ancestors' choices, you make the choice for yourself to reconnect to the culture in your blood, on your palate. Because ultimately, I'm learning this connection, that is home.
I'm Susanna Mendlow.
And I'm Devree Lewis.
Susanna Mendlow and Devree Lewis form the ensemble named Dies al Cello, through which they offer unique world music performances for two cellos. They fell in love with the Turkish Ladino song Avre Este Abajour and made their own variations to it here as arranged for the cello.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Kelly Colburn, and this is Untitled Experimental Ode to Consumptive, Nostalgic, Unrequited Love. Thank you.
Kelly Colburn is a director, actor, and multimedia designer who recently won a 2020 Helen Hayes Award for projection design. In this poem, Kelly explores how we use our devices to communicate our personal and public heartbreak.
I think I just wanted to know you. And now I'm quite content. Shuffling songs on Spotify, someone sings seductively, rich and warm, enveloping me in these cold streets. Even now, I imagine that voice as you, singing thick like a guilty embrace. Why do you conduct my morning commute? My love for you stems from daydreams, like an estuary you seep. I've never loved someone this long. It's hard to call it love, but harder to call it something else. Maybe the term is consumption? You consume me, I consume you. Gosh, shit. My hands furiously type in the cold, cracking to release these forgotten shards. I want to know why you hold me here and force me to write. I'm taken back. You taste like cigarettes and beer, Camel Blues, IPAs, smoky, hoppy, smooth, and bitter. You smell like my childhood. Wood, paint, long nights of sweat. You look unkempt. Ragged hair, forest face, unwashed pants, strong boots surviving winter. You're warm. You taste like warmth. Like when I get home in winter from Manhattan and I've forgotten to turn the heat off that morning, so my apartment welcomes me home, toasty and feeling like Christmases I never had. You're kind. When you offer me water or a place to sleep. Always a gentleman, claiming chivalry is not dead. You're cruel. You tease me with words, then strangle and suffocate me with the same broken promises and your insatiable taste of smoke. Shit. I think I strangled myself.
Hello, my name is Andrew Grossman.
Andrew Grossman is a composer, singer-songwriter, guitarist, synthesizer, and leader of the band The North Country. While his new song, Everything Ends, is about the loss of a friendship, we couldn't stop hearing his words with the hope that it will apply soon to the coronavirus.
Days that pass us by, some just seem to be stuck on repeat. If I'm trying to be present, then remembering is accepting my defeat. I try to practice loss of memory on every little memory of loss. Looking forward, never backward, mainly from the fear of tallying the cost. Everything ends. Everything ends. Everything ends. Nothing stays the same. past cuts like a knife through regrets that couldn't make it last. I am thankful for the sadness that I feel that never really goes away. I would rather feel the pain of memories than an ambivalence of age. Because everything ends. Everything ends. Everything ends. And nothing stays the same. Everything ends. Everything ends. Everything ends. Nothing stays the same. Everything ends. Everything ends. Everything ends. Nothing stays the same. Everything ends. Everything ends. Everything ends. Nothing stays the same.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword. I think DC having the Hill and having all these folks in politics, it can be kind of a culturally conservative space, and I feel it's a little bit harder to open up audiences when I play music. But on the other side of that, there's a really gorgeous community of artists that really support each other and love each other, and I'm grateful to hang out with them. And I feel like the city has really taken care of me over the past 10 years being a musician. So it's hard, but it's worth it.
For me, what makes being an artist in the DC area different than other cities, I think, across the country is that this environment is not one of competition, it's one of community. I really do think that people want to lift one another up in this city.
As a musician in DC, I really enjoy playing here because there is just such a wide a range of styles. It's an international city. That's actually what brought me and Devree together, is that we both love to not just play classical music, we're both into tango, we're both into rock, we really love world music, and that's something that we really enjoy playing together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's an opportunity to play for a wide variety of audiences as well, in venues, from embassies, house concerts. We do a lot of, in addition to the great halls like Kennedy Center and Lisner Auditorium, places like that.
Being an artist in the DMV is great. There are a lot of amazing creative people in this town who span from music to dance to fine arts to design, just all across the board, and you can find them everywhere you look. I stay because the work is here and the people are here, and it's a great town to be in. I can't imagine being anywhere else.
I really love it. DC has a lot of kinetic energy. It's filled with people who are very ambitious, very driven, and I draw a lot of creative energy from being in that kind of environment.
Thank you for joining us in celebrating our first round winners and the premiere of their full video performances. And thank you for supporting our mission to help emerging artists in our local community. Remember to check out our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and sign up for our email list to find out when our next round of microgrant applications opens and listen to more performances like this one. Thank you.